When it comes to the first round, though, the big question is who will the Browns take it to? That is where the draft truly begins, with the Titans expected to take quarterback Cam Ward. The Browns, they got a decision to make. You need a quarterback. They admitted that the whole Deshaun Watson fiasco was just that, indeed, a fiasco. Do you go with Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, even someone like Abdul Carter? Excited to see what happens. Let's welcome in a couple experts here. Our draft expert, Mike Renner. You can find his first 3-round mock on CBSSports.com, posted just today. And our other draft expert, because he was a former GM, Ran Carthon. Ran, I want to start with you. We're going to take a look here at Mike's 3-round haul for the Browns, and he is indeed going with Travis Hunter. I mean, you know what it's like in that front office. You're dealing with decisions like this. What do you make of what Mike has done for the Cleveland Browns?
I love it. I think he did a really good job. I would grade this an A because you get one of the most dynamic players probably that we've seen in a long time in Travis Hunter. I know there are needs at quarterback, and you get that later in the 3rd round. But passing on Travis Hunter is like passing up on Shohei Ohtani. Let's just enjoy what Travis is and what he's done. There were a lot of naysayers that said Ohtani couldn't pitch and play the field and hit. And he's proven that he can. Let's just give Travis a shot and see what he can do.
Yeah, and if it's a debate between Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter, I might lean Abdul Carter, but to me, the top of the 2nd round, getting a guy like James Pierce, I think that's a real possibility. Pierce may fall because of off-field concerns, regarding the staff there and how much effort he put in this past season. But the Browns haven't really shied away from guys like that. They drafted Mike Hall Jr. last year out of Ohio State, who had very similar concerns coming out in the 2nd round. So Pierce could very well fall to them. And then Caleb Johnson, the running back out of Iowa, he won't be for everyone, but he's a great zone runner and will be for a team like the Cleveland Browns and Kevin Stefanski's offense.
And you see that they do indeed get a quarterback in Kyle McCord there, which, Ran, that's something that the Browns need. So I'm curious. I mean, you gave us these examples. You compared him to Shohei Ohtani, another two-way star over in Major League Baseball. If you're sitting in that front office and someone is saying, look, Shedeur Sanders is right there, we need a quarterback. If you're on the other side of the table, how are you convincing him to take Travis Hunter?
Well, again, I think it's the uniqueness of what Travis brings, and I'm pretty sure that there will be arguments in their draft room about which side of the ball gets him first. I could see him probably starting his career off at receiver for Cleveland and then doubling over as a sub-package player on defense. But to answer your question about the quarterback position, do I think Kyle McCord is the long-term answer for them here at this position? No, I do not. But however, I think you get a quality player in there that can fill in some of those gaps when you add a Joe Flacco to the scene that they did last week.
We know a lot of our NFL experts, Ryan Wilson, both of you guys work with him, Pete Prisco, both of them really like Kyle McCord in this draft as well. Let's take a look at the Bears. This is interesting as well. And you are going with Mike, their 1st-round pick at 10 overall, a tight end in Tyler Warren. I was making sure I got it right there. Their biggest focus this offseason has clearly been the offensive line. Mike, kind of walk us through what you were thinking here.
This is the Ben Johnson draft. This is filling out kind of what he wants to do. Obviously in Detroit, he wanted that speed threat at the running back position. That's why they went out and got Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round. And then he uses a ton of 2 tight end sets as well. Wants guys who are position flexible. And there's not a tight end in this class. If you watch Penn State at all, you know one thing about Tyler Warren is he's position flexible. The guy could even take Caleb Williams' job there if he wanted him to on sneaks or on trick plays. He can throw, he can run with the football, and he can catch in contested situations consistently. So a guy that gives you some flexibility. Like I said, this is Ben Johnson trying to put this in his image, this offense, and I think he has a really great spot to do so with picks 10, 39, and 41. There's going to be talented players available.
Rand, when you're dealing with the new coach, an offensive mind like we saw in Ben Johnson, what is the best way for them, or maybe just as a team, to approach a draft? Is this kind of how you want to do it?
Yes, absolutely. And the first thing we would do with a new coaching staff is for them to come in and teach us the scheme. Well, we would have what we call a meeting about the scheme. Let's get notified on the scheme for the scouts and let the scouts understand what it takes to play each position in your scheme, which allows the scouts to then go out and do their job at a higher level, understanding what positions fit where within your offensive and defensive scheme.
I want to talk about the Rams, and because we have brought our producer into the show a lot, we're going to do it again because he is going to see, and it's going to be at the bottom of your screen, he called Rams find Matt Stafford's heir in round 1, calling Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. The Rams taking him in the first round there, the heir to Matt Stafford. Ran, earlier you told us about Kyle McCord saying he's probably not the long-term answer for the Browns. What about Jackson Dart for the Rams?
This would be a really good pick for Les Snead and Sean McVay to have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart that is really ascending up most people's draft boards at this spot. As Danny had him as 2B, I believe, in his rankings. I can definitely see that. And there is some early chatter, within front offices right now that he may be QB2 off the board. But I think here you have a young quarterback in which you don't have to force him out on the field as quick because he's playing behind a veteran and potential future Hall of Famer in Matthew Stafford. And Sean's system is a little more wordy and he's able to adjust, but this is the perfect fit for Sean McVay's offense for the future.
Yeah, watching Jackson Dart play this past season, one thing became clear. Two things became clear. One, it's that he looked like a different player from his junior year. Two, was that the Ole Miss offense is still the Ole Miss offense. And if he has to play next year in the NFL, it could get rocky. It's just such a big transition going from the reads he had to make at Ole Miss to the reads he's going to have to make in the NFL. So I love one of these back end of the first round teams or someone who already has an entrenched starter that's either aging, going towards the end of a contract that you could throw Jackson Dart in there to develop and have him just take the pressure off of this guy and say, year 1, we don't need you. It's year 2, year 3, year 4 that we're really looking forward to. And I think if that's the case, he could flourish.
Last thing we want to talk about, the Eagles in the second round. It's very interesting. Here I am going through this. Of course, they just won the Super Bowl with Jalen Hurts. Somebody who's very close to Jalen Hurts, Jalen Milroe. And you have the Eagles of all teams drafting Jalen Milroe in the second round, Mike. And it is similar. He's gotten some similar criticisms, such as Jalen Hurts. If he falls down to the second round or to a team like the Eagles, Ran, I'm going to talk to you about this. I mean, 1, are teams missing out on a player? And 2, how much could they develop him?
I think, Amanda, you stole my notes because that was the one thing I put in. I was like, the irony of Howie Roseman drafting another former Alabama quarterback who has traits out of this world, but there were some questions about the consistency of the passing. But adding a player like a Jalen Milroe, which in a situation which he's not forced to have to play early, is a really good thing for both the Eagles and as well as Jalen Milroe. There are plenty of wild throws all over the tape, but again, it goes back to the consistency. And I think you saw his play kind of diminish a little bit this year, but a player like him who's athletic, who's dynamic with the ball in his hand, we hear it all the time. We talk about athletic quarterbacks. This guy's in another realm when you speak about athleticism and explosiveness at the quarterback position.
And I think for the Eagles, it makes a lot of sense for a couple of reasons. One, Jalen Hurts' contract is about to get really expensive if they keep going the way they're going. They pushed a lot of that money down the line here, and it's kind of a pay-as-you-go-ish, but the cap hits start to go up in the $70, $80 million range. So this gives you just a little bit of negotiating flexibility against Jalen Hurts to not back yourself into a corner and get bent over and have to pay him over $100 million here very shortly a year. And also, it gives you a high floor with your backup position. We know how good that offensive line is. We know how good Saquon Barkley is. If you have a guy as dynamic as Jalen Milroe, who could be a top 5 sort of running quarterback in the NFL, at least as more dynamic than Jalen Hurts, that just gives you a high floor. You don't have to pass too much with that offensive line and Saquon Barkley. You can just be a run-first team with how dynamic that backfield would be.
As a Jalen Hurts fan, I would also hope that he would be excited about that, given he's close to Jalen Milroe and don't be all fussy about a new quarterback.